is reality. Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. New sculpts your reality.
Reality. Hey guys, Wednesday night, you know what's up?
It's time for Reality Brief.
Your reality brief as well.
Tonight, broadcasting from Hampganistan?
Yes, sunny Hampganistan.
Sunny Hampganistan. Watch out for bullets raining from the sky.
We're in the independent oblast of Fi Basra.
As always, from the super secret, undisclosed location. Show tonight is brought to you by the Bank of International Settlements and also Carl's Jr. because fuck you, I'm eating.
Or possibly also Memphis Meats. What the hell is that? I'm eating.
Memphis Meats. So welcome to the show, guys.
Tonight from a tank.
Tonight we got a flak dabble. We got a flak dabble full of black dabble.
What?
Yep.
Huh.
What?
Fascinating.
Well, speaking of our sponsors, the Bank of International Settlements.
Okay, so imagine if the chain of international financial structures that govern the world, imagine if that was like an RPG, right? Well, this guy would be the last boss that you fight. Fucking, what was this guy's name? Augustin Carstens. He's the chief of the Bank of International Settlements. This is like one of the major international banks that oversees like, you know, major transfers of wealth between countries.
Bank
right?
of International Slavery.
Yeah, pretty much. And this guy is just you got to Google Augustin Carstens. Go to Google Images and look up Augustin Carstens. And this is the guy that basically makes these calls. He says that there's a strong case for authorities to rein in digital currencies because of their links to the established financial system. Bank for International Settlements General Manager Augustin Carstens said.
This article is actually a really good comedy piece.
In his first major public speech as the head of the Basel, Switzerland-based institution, Carstens argued that the central banks, along with finance ministries, tax offices, financial market regulators, should police the digital frontier. He said that they must ensure a level playing field and functioning payment systems and safeguard the real value of money.
Oh, indeed.
Which, you know, I personally subscribe to the school of all value is subjective, but nevertheless, the value of cryptocurrencies soared in 2017 before slumping with Bitcoin, blah, 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 blah. We were all there for it.
Blah, 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 Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, anyhow, he's saying Bitcoin is not functional as means of a payment, but it relies on the oxygen provided by the connection to the standard means of payments and trading apps that link users to conventional bank accounts, Carsten said in Frankfurt on Tuesday. If the only business case is use for illicit or illegal transactions, central banks cannot allow such tokens to rely on much of the same institutional infrastructure that serves the overall financial system and freeload on the trust that it provides. Because there's so much trust in the Federal Reserve.
Oh my gosh.
For a quick take on Bitcoin and blockchain, click here. While cryptocurrency technology has the potential to reshape global finance, concerns have been raised about its volatility and appeal to criminals. The Bank for International Settlements helps central banks pursue monetary, financial stability, and Carstens, who took over late last year after leading Mexico's central bank, joins a list of officials expressing reservations.
Think of it as, if you will, as like, all right, you've seen Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you got the guy cooking up the blue meth, moving into the town, cutting in on the other dealer's turf. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Nah, son, it ain't happening. You saw you got to blow up the chicken shack or whatever. So this is essentially that. you got mobsters essentially, and now they're getting their game cut off. So of course.
Mm-hmm. If authorities do not act preemptively, cryptocurrencies could become more interconnected with the main financial system and become a threat, he said. Most importantly, the meteoric rise of cryptocurrencies should not make us forget the important role central banks play as stewards of public trust. Private digital tokens masquerading as currencies must not subvert this trust. Newsflash for you, buddy.
That's a good one, man. That's a good one.
So, yeah, I mean, call it a comedy piece if you will, but there's some serious Orwellian overtones to this shit. Like,
Oh yeah, man.
these guys, want to. They definitely every shred of their being wants to step in and tell you who's boss. So, we gonna let them?
Yeah. Just tread on me just a little bit. All right, man. Enough of this Bank of International Settlement crap.
Bank of International horseshit.
Bank of International Slaveries. So, man, I know this been coming across my Facebook feed a whole bunch, and it's talking about this guy who went skiing and got disappeared across the country.
Ski warp guy.
Shit is awesome.
How did he get there?
Oh my god! So we go ahead and
This guy's skiing in New York, right? Konstantinos Danny Philippidis was
Danny Philippidis.
So yeah, Mr. Yeah, Philippidis somehow went skiing to New York, wound up in California.
Okay, so when deputies found Konstantinos Danny Philippidis at the Sacramento International Airport on Tuesday, he had a new iPhone, a haircut, and little memory of how he got there, according to a sheriff's office spokesperson. And this is coming from Syracuse.com, so this is like the newspaper where he went missing from. So Philippidis, 49, had been missing since last Wednesday, when he told his friends he wanted to make one last ski run on Whiteface Mountain in the
That's so racist.
aerodynamics. So look, man, just one more run. Just gotta have one more slope. That kicked off. That kicked off a nearly week-long search in the aerodynamics, involving more than 250 people, plus helicopters, drones, dogs, and other equipment. So they thought this guy was lost in the ski slope.
It's a Adirondack.
The searchers faced tough mountain terrain at times, brutal winter weather, including more than a foot of snow on the first day of the search. In 6 days, Philippidis told deputies at the airport that he traversed nearly 3,000 miles to Sacramento, California. A 28-year veteran of the Toronto Fire Department called his wife on Tuesday. From the airport in Sacramento, she urged him to call 911. So his wife's like, hey, look, call 911, call 911. So goes on to say, our deputies didn't immediately understand the gravity of the situation. They were like, oh, some asshole called 911 and said he was lost or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though Philippidis remembered little, he recalled skiing and thought he'd suffered a head injury. He told deputies he'd forgotten how he arrived at the airport or who drove him there, but that he rode in a big rig-style truck and slept a lot. Between Adirondacks and Sacramento, Philippidis bought an Adirondacks iPhone, and he told deputies, which he used to call his wife on Tuesday. Philippidis told deputies a truck dropped him off downtown Sacramento, where he got a haircut. The missing skier had forgotten how he traveled from downtown Sacramento to the airport, approximately 11 miles. So not only does he not know how the hell he got there, but he don't know how he got to there from the airport. So deputies thought Philippidis was injured or suffering some sort of medical problem when they arrived and convinced the responding fire department to have Philippidis taken to an area hospital, Hampton said. Philippidis was still dressed in the ski pants, ski jacket, boots, and had his helmet. He had been on an annual ski trip at Whiteface Mountain with fellow firefighters and retired firefighters when he disappeared. It seemed to the deputies he had a significant amount of memory loss. Philippidis had moments of lucidity when he was with the deputies, according to Hampton. The deputies said they did not know how Philippidis arrived in Sacramento aside from what he's told them. He said the sheriff's office is not currently investigating the incident. All right, so this is really, really freaking strange. I mean, some possible, I guess, normal explanations for something like this could be the guy, like, had an episode or something, you know, or some type of seizure related, where you know how you get amnesia after that, or maybe he did hit his head and he had amnesia and he got up and he just somehow managed to wander across the country. I don't know. But, you know, more sinisterly could be some type of abduction thing, whether it be extraterrestrial or, humans. It's pretty interesting. So he remembers riding in a big red Dan.
Yeah, well, huh? Sorry, I spaced
Big
out.
red. You know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. So
How do you know there wasn't an MK Ultra lab in the back?
exactly, man. Like this, I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, and it makes me think about. You remember when they had that guy that same thing? It was a kid. He just ended up in D.C. and he was shooting up the place.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
John Al Muhammad, Lee Boyd
Well,
Lee Boyd Melville.
I wonder if this guy was programmed to do something and didn't do it, or maybe he, who knows, man? It's definitely freaking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. That's why I thought it was worth mentioning, because, I mean, at first it sounded like he teleported, you know what I mean? Like when I first read it, but then I realized that wasn't the case. And it makes me wonder if he just whacked his head on a tree.
Well, 6 days. I mean, that would be approximately how long it would take to drive to California from New York?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it would have to have been he got up immediately or he just immediately left and hitched across the country on tractor trailers or something.
Yeah, bonked his head and then decided to go.
And the interesting thing is I tried to follow up and maybe see if there was anything coming out of this that was more recent, I remember what happened, or some kind of explanation, and there's nothing, though, man. The most we get is he had a new iPhone and a haircut. Why would he just get a haircut and buy a new phone?
Oh, well,
Maybe he lost his old phone or something.
I mean, I know people who've showed up with a new iPhone and a haircut that did some pretty unscrupulous things to get them. But I'm not saying this guy did. But who knows what you're doing when you're in a fugue state? When you're that out of it, if you whack your head and you're bumbling around in the woods and you're all who knows? Who knows what kind of adventures this guy got into? Maybe he just wanted to, he said he just wanted to go skiing, but just really wanted to go hitchhiking across the country one last time.
I mean, and it could be something as simple as he had some type of episode or something, I think, man.
Yeah, it's possible. Who knows? I mean, but, maybe he did get picked up by some, clandestine operation and they stuck things in his brain.
All right, so speaking of that thing that happened a while ago, the Pentagon shooting where the guy ended up across the country, we've got this here. Just recently, something happened at the NSA. So, Fort Meade, an unauthorized vehicle tried to enter the secure campus of the National Security Agency at Fort Meade on Wednesday morning, sparking a confrontation that left 3 people injured. Right, so they're pretty vague about what exactly happened here. They say shots were fired, all this and that, but... So, gunshots were fired during the incident, but officials said they did not believe any of the injuries resulted from gunfire. Gordon Johnson, special agent in charge of FBI's Baltimore field office, would not give details about who opened fire, but did say that preliminary, it looks like all the gunfire was directed towards the vehicle. At a news conference Wednesday afternoon, Johnson said the FBI was still collecting evidence, but believes it was an isolated incident. I cannot emphasize enough that we believe there is no indication that this has a nexus to terrorism. We would believe anything you would fucking say to begin with, man. There really could be some legitimate terrorism, you know what I mean? And who the hell knows, man? Johnson said that 3 injured were the driver of the vehicle, an NSA police officer, and a civilian onlooker. I would like to find out who that civilian is and have a talk with him.
Seriously.
He would not give any details about how they were injured. 2 other people who were in the vehicle have been taken into custody and were being questioned. The injuries suffered by the police officer and the onlooker did not appear to be life-threatening, he said. He did not have any information about the driver's injuries. And you can see the picture there. The car is pretty smashed up there. It looks like maybe it was trying to get in past the gate or something, or he swerved. But you got blood, bandages, or maybe that's crime scene shit. So the incident began when the vehicle tried to enter the spy agency's campus without authorization around 7 a.m. The NSA said in a statement. The statement said weapons were fired, but preliminary reports do not presently indicate that there are injuries attributable to gunfire. So what the hell happened? And he just crashed the car and a guy got... He hit the civilian onlooker. Johnson said that images from local news outlets showed authorities surrounding 2 handcuffed people after a black SUV ran into the barrier outside the Maryland base. Johnson said the vehicle had a New York license plate, and he believed it was a rental car. He said he did not know why the people in the vehicle were at the facility. I don't have the answer to that. We are trying to put that as our question, one to put with these individuals on this compound earlier this morning. President Trump has been briefed on the shooting at Fort Meade, and the White House offered thoughts and prayers for those who have been affected. An image taken from WRC TV helicopters showed the police and fire department's response outside the facility. WRC said bullet holes could be seen in the vehicle's front window, and airbags were deployed. Blood-stained material could have been seen on the ground. After the shooting, authorities closed the major highway in both directions, causing major backups throughout the area during rush hour. God, man.
That's the best
I mean,
time
you're going to go on a
cause major
suicidal
backups.
rampage at the NSA, man. At least wait until it's not rush hour. What's the matter with you?
Jesus, wait till maybe like 1:30 in the afternoon when nobody's on trying to get home.
All right, so look.
Inconsiderate bastards.
WRC said bullet holes could be seen in the vehicle's front window, and airbags were deployed. Blood-stained material could be seen on the ground. So maybe they shot him through the window, and then the dude lost control of the car or whatever, and then the airbags deployed when he smashed that thing.
Mm-hmm.
After the shooting, despite prominent highway signs, drivers occasionally take the wrong exit and end up at the tightly secured gates. Most motorists then carefully follow the orders of heavily armed federal officers and turn around without getting into more trouble. But in early 2015, 2 people were shot by the NSA police when they disobeyed orders outside the heavily secured campus. One driver died at the scene after NSA police opened fire on a stolen sports utility vehicle. Authorities later said they had stolen a car from the man who picked them up at the party for a party at a motel. So they're trying to make it lead you to believe that, no, nothing to see here, move along. Right, it's just some asshole. He went there and he was like, "Nah, I don't listen to you with the cops with the gun in my face." That's what they want you to believe here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I mean, it sounds like pretty standard, terrorist attack type stuff. Like, go run a truck through a bunch of stuff.
Right, and rental car. I mean, but it could be. Who knows what it is, man? Maybe it was like, could be anything, man.
We need to ban rental cars. Obviously.
Rental car, obviously. Man, a while back we were talking about. Remember that incident that happened with the UFO in Oregon?
Yeah, that was kind of a big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, like they found, say Oregon, but it was seen like through the whole West Coast over there. It was like this whole long scenario that jumped off. Well, there recently was some FOIA requests, and we got some more documents and stuff for that. So we'll go ahead and this is the war zone. So that's that was an Army site or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. You need to hear these FAA tapes from that Oregon UFO incident that said F-15 scrambling. All right. So last November, the War Zone posted an exclusive story detailing a bizarre incident involving an unidentified aircraft that transited the skies of the Pacific Northwest in the early evening of October 25th, 2017. What started as a radar target moving at very high speed over Northern California turned into a series of eyewitness accounts made by nearby airline pilots traveling northward over Oregon. Even F-15 fighters were launched to intercept the mysterious intruder that quickly became invisible to radar.
I love it when they do that.
Now, the Freedom of Information Act, we present with what could be one of the most insightful instances of official documentation surrounding such an encounter that had already been confirmed to have occurred by both the FAA and the United States Air Force. These materials include fascinating audio recordings of radio transmissions and phone calls made as the incident was unfolding, as well as pilot interviews and conversations between FAA officials made in the aftermath of the highly peculiar incident. For proper context, make sure to first read our original article here, blah, blah, blah. But here's a basic overview. And since it was probably last November when we were talking about this, we'll go ahead and check out the basic overview. It's only 3 minutes.
This looks like a Front 242 video.
target south of the boundary there, that 0027 code, moving very fast at 37,000.
Oh, look at that thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Huh. And you don't have anything on him, huh?
I got nothing.
Well, we'll look.
Yeah, it's United 612. It's just a white speck out there. I mean, we can see it, but there's no identification on it, just that it's there.
Yo, I want to know who did the soundtrack to this. This is coming up.
It sounded like an old lady said, like how like Stranger Things. I bet we'll find out who does the soundtrack after this video processes on YouTube.
Where this guy ended up, we don't know.
Oh, so we still don't know.
No. The fighters scrambled. They went out looking around a little bit, but we lost anybody having sight of the aircraft.
Snarky saw everything.
Wow, that's weird.
It's really weird. Yeah.
You beat me to it. All right, so fast forward 3 months later, and now we have so much more evidence that adds incredible depth and color to our original report and the limited radio recordings we originally had to go off of. Via our Freedom of Information Act request, way to use the system against itself, guys. We received
Oakland
hours.
31, Seattle 13, APREC.
What?
I wonder where.
Oakland 31.
APREC number 155 Lima, level 43, the wrong way.
That's for vacation.
Shh.
Hush
Talking.
you.
Talking over here. All right, so what we have done is package that audio as well as the radar data provided into 4 separate videos. We will highlight one of the big takeaways from each video in our piece, but we cannot stress enough how interesting and eye-opening this audio is to listen to in full. So we highly recommend you do so by watching each video in its entirety, which we will not be doing tonight, but we'll watch a little bit of it, and you guys are going to have to go to thedrive.com and search this out for yourself.
Yep.
The first video includes audio from the initial...
We might share a link later.
The first video includes audio from the initial spotting of the object as it ripped its way across Northern California at high speed before it took a turn north and merged with nearby air traffic and disappeared from radar. Once again, beyond becoming invisible to radar, this aircraft had no transponder, broadcasting, nor did it ever communicate verbally with air traffic controllers. The audio in the video goes on to be synced in real time with radar data obtained via our FOIA requests. All right, so I guess we'll just pick one. This one is audio and radar data from the incident as it occurred in real time. Full radar data obtained from FAA phone conversation as the incident was taking place. Which one do you want to go for?
The second one.
The second one?
Yeah, let's go for the second one. They probably have the good stuff buried further in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is radar data. It's not people talking about it. I think we should go for one of the first two.
Well, click whatever you want, man.
Nah, radar. Here, this one's both. Let's see. 30 minutes.
We'll definitely get a PB smack for that.
We're not broadcasting 30 minutes of this, man. Air traffic controllers. The war zone. Thanks, guys. This is awesome. Do this some more. Hey, how long with the opening?
30 minutes of the war zone. It's a war zone all the time at the war zone. It's just like no.
Oh, dude, you know what?
like
You know
that-
what's going on?
I like that backdrop.
You remember when I muted that?
We had a target come through our airspace going.
Oakland 31, Seattle 13, AFREC.
Hi.
Oakland 31.
AFREC November 155 Lima, level 43, so wrong way.
That's pretty big. Do you know that target south of the boundary there, that 0027 code moving very fast at 37,000?
Oh, look at that thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Huh. And you don't have anything on him, huh?
I got nothing.
Well, we'll look.
WestJet 1698.
No, the WestJet 1698 is about, he is at 370, and that dude is, 150 miles to the north of him. I'll flash to that damn block. There you go. There's where WestJet is.
Where?
I see him up there. That's crazy. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, I'll report that.
Thanks, Senator.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll report that to the trash can.
Yeah, who are you going to report it to? That's going to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and give that to the trash can. We're going to put it right in there with the rest of them. Then we're going to spend $20 million to pretend like we're looking at it.
It's Oakland 31 or 36.
All right, so where are we looking at this radar dot?
Well, I'm at
This is Sector 36. We had a target come through our airspace going really fast at level 370 earlier, an intruder, Mode C intruder, going southbound. And then now, apparently, the Southwest 4712 sees an aircraft off his right side about as 1 o'clock and 10 miles going northbound at 370. We don't have anything on radar anymore or anything like that.
okay. Yeah, I took my primary zone. I don't
And we don't see any primaries or
see
anything
anything,
either.
but I will. Okay. Yeah. That's
Just to let you know, and
hearing of it.
our supervisors are calling all the appropriate people. So
And does he have any idea what kind of aircraft it is?
no, we've asked him,
Okay.
and he doesn't. He said it's about his 1 to 2 o'clock and 10 miles off his right side now. So
Okay, thanks.
maybe.
So this thing goes into the congested traffic area and cloaks. So it can't be picked up by radar, but it left
Southwest 500,
off.
contact Oakland Center, 119.907.
That's pretty interesting. I guess it didn't have a choice but to go there or something.
I mean, yeah, it had important stuff to do, man. But yeah, for real, I really wonder if that was something off-world or something terrestrial that, you know, like a
Dude,
either
I
a
mean,
secret,
it totally could be
super ultra deep secret military project or something private. Like, you know, what if that was something Elon Musk built that these suckers don't even know about?
Right. I mean, it was probably, I would say.
United
it would
612,
probably
thank you.
be
Keep a
man-made.
visual if you can. Let me know.
We'll skip ahead a little bit there. Okay, that's enough of your bullshit, sir. But yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out later. We'll post this in our group for you guys. And check out this. It looks like a ton of audio and radar data, man. It's probably, like they said, it seems to be pretty dang interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's next? I think we were talking about, what were you saying about Elon Musk? Saying something about Elon Musk? Oh, no.
We're talking about the deep sea mining stuff.
Yes. Oh, my God. So the CIA, man, with the epic cover story that spawns the industry that didn't exist. Fucking incredible, man. This definitely has some parallels, I think, possibly to SpaceX and Elon Musk. Let's find out. Ooh, where are we at? Hey, check it out. Not loading.
Nope, you ain't
The
loading
secret
nothing.
on the ocean floor.
There's all kinds of neat stuff on the ocean
Mm-hmm.
floor. And, you know, I know just for a fact, like, living here in Hampton Roads, you Excuse me. You hear about the kind of stuff that the Navy tends to throw overboard, like because if it needs to be replaced, they get a new one, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's just easy to say, "Oh, we lost it. It got thrown overboard," and so there's spools of wire and all sorts of electrical equipment and tools and all sorts of things that just kind of get tossed out on the ocean floor.
Tanks.
Yeah.
All types of shit. All right. So a wave of pioneers is poised to scoop up treasure from the deep sea. But was this ocean mining boom sparked by a 1970s CIA plot?
I hope so.
Sure certainly looks that way. Mystery ship. In the summer of 1974, a large and highly unusual ship set sail from Long Beach in California. It was heading for the middle of the Pacific, where its owners boasted it would herald a revolutionary new industry beneath the waves. Equipped with a towering rig and the latest in drilling gear, the vessel was designed to reach down through the deep, dark waters to a source of incredible wealth lying on the floor. It was billed as the boldest step so far in a long-held dream of opening a new frontier in mining, one that would see valuable metals extracted from the rocks of the seabed. But amid all the excited public relations, there was one small hitch. The whole expedition was a lie. This was a Cold War deception on a staggering scale, but one which also left a legacy that has profound implications nearly a half a century later. A Soviet submarine. The real target of the crew on board this giant ship was a lost Soviet submarine. 6 years earlier, the K-129 had sunk 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii while carrying ballistic nuclear missiles. The Russians failed to find their sub despite a massive search, but an American network of underwater listening posts had detected the noise of an explosion that eventually led U.S. teams to the wreck. It was lying 3 miles down, deeper than any previous salvage operation. The weapons and top-secret codebooks were surely beyond reach. But in the struggle for military advantage, the sub represented the crown jewels, a chance to explore Moscow's nuclear missiles and to break its naval communications. So the CIA hatched an audacious plan, Project Azorian, to retrieve the submarine. That would have been hard enough, but there was another challenge as well. It had to be done without the Russians knowing. The spies needed to create a smokescreen, so they pretended to be exploring the possibility of deep-sea mining. A PR campaign conveyed to a determined effort to find manganese nodules, these potato-sized rock slides scattered in the abyss, great plains of the deep ocean. There had to be a front man. Someone rich, someone eccentric enough to be plausible. The reclusive billionaire inventor, Howard Hughes, was perfect for the role. He agreed to take part, and in his name, a unique ship was designed. Publicly, it was fitted with everything needed to dig up the seabed. But covertly, the Hughes Glomar Explorer was also built with ingenious devices straight from a Bond film. The ship's hull had enormous doors that could swing apart to create a moon pool, an underwater opening large enough to accommodate the Soviet sub and keep it hidden. That's massive, dude. Tucked away out of sight inside the ship was a capture vehicle, which had a giant set of claws to straddle the sub and secure it. There's a picture of the inside of the thing. That's fucking crazy, man. It took until 1974, 6 years after the sinking of the sub, for the CIA to be ready. The cost of the project, $500 million in 1970. Equivalent then to building a couple of aircraft carriers or launching an Apollo mission to the goddamn moon.
Which, I mean, on the bright side, at least if Elon Musk was behind all this, he could have probably done it for a fifth.
I'm not saying Elon Musk was behind this.
No, I'm saying if he was, he could have done it for like a fifth of that cost.
We really misled a lot of people, and it's surprising that the story held together for so long. Dave Sharp, former CIA operative. No one had ever attempted anything on this scale in such an incredible depth. The sub itself had a weight of nearly 2,000 tons, but the 3 miles of thick steel pipe needed to haul it up added even more. New systems were needed to keep the Glomar Explorer in position as well as to handle the huge load. and everyone on board was nervous. Dave Sharp, one of the few CIA figures happy to talk about the project, tells me it was really frightening when heavy seas threatened to tear their unusual vessel apart. But even more alarming was the suspicion of the Russians. To convince them that Howard Hughes was genuinely interested in nodules, executives were dispatched to conferences on ocean mining, where they described in detail their plans to harvest the rocks. We made ocean mining seem a lot more credible. We really missed a lot of people, and it's surprising that the story held together for so long. Misled, sorry. The cover was so good that it prompted U.S. universities to start courses in deep-sea mining, and it also whipped up the share prices of the companies involved. People thought, if Howard Hughes was into this, we need to be too. Man, this is where Elon Musk comes in and the Falcon project and SpaceX and all that, man. We even collected a few nodules, he remembers, which was fortunate because Soviet spy ships kept a constant vigil, and once even came close enough to overhear the Americans' conversations. There's a Soviet spy ship. When we realized they were right alongside, we started talking about nodules. Like, here's a good one. So it looked like we were checking. Man, that is like high level intelligence right there, dude. That's like straight up like, this is a good one.
I like nodules.
And we're gonna get the nuke sub, right? Oh, hey, this is a good one, right?
Chock full of manganese.
Yet another complication arose. You don't say. The project needed calm weather, and that was only likely in summer. But just when it was about to begin in summer 1974, U.S. President Richard Nixon was visiting Moscow for a peacemaking summit. Being caught stealing a Soviet sub would not exactly have helped. So Nixon insisted the operation could not begin until he had left Russia. That was on the 3rd of July. By then, Hughes' Glomar Explorer was in position, and the winches whirred into action the next day. Things did not go smoothly. Sharp recalls that the pumps and connections kept breaking. Huge vibrations rocked the ship as the capture vehicle was banging back and forth in the waves. But on the 30th of July, he watched as underwater cameras relayed video of the sub, as well as dozens of crawling crab-like crustaceans and a big white fish that looked like a shark. Amazingly, the giant steel claws successfully seized the sub. But then, disaster struck. At some point on the way up, the immense strain became too much. Part of a claw snapped off, and most of the sub slipped back into the seabed. Only the front section made it up. The bodies of 6 Soviet submariners were recovered and were later given a formal burial at sea. But the missiles and the code books were never found, or so they said. The CIA official history asserts that the operation was one of the greatest intelligent coups of the Cold War, but it had a cost vast sums, and questions immediately arose about its value. A year later, the sensational details became public, and plans to recover the remaining section were abandoned. So they got busted for this shit a year later, man. It's like, I never even heard of this before. And it takes the fucking BBC to tell me about it. Jesus Christ, man. As Sharp puts it, the revelation that the deep-sea mining project was fake, a sudden shock to other mining companies and also the diplomats at the UN who are right in the middle of negotiating future rights to ocean minerals. Share prices tumbled amid a wave of recriminations. This might have derailed the very notion of deep-sea mining for good. But in fact, it proved that with clever engineering and a lavish budget, it was possible just to operate in the otherworldly depths.
Well,
it's really difficult, but we showed it could be done.
You know, I think that undersea mining is actually one of the best ways that technostism is going to begin to take hold. You know, the whole idea of creating wealth by investing your money in automated labor pools. And I actually think that's something that automated drones could probably do reasonably well with a sufficient degree of automation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You told me about your grandiose plan to mine the sea bed already.
I think it
What
could
you
be
tell?
done.
Yeah, automatic drones go down, collect, come up, give you money, you scrap it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could work, I guess. But that brings me now. Let's just speculate here for a minute with this Elon Musk thing, because this is striking me in the gizzards. So Elon Musk has built these giant rockets and doing all this stuff, and I mean, is it just a cover though? Is he actually just a cover?
That's I don't.
I mean, you would have to
think
think
he's just a cover, but I do think he's a cover.
You would have to think because he comes out and then he's like, "Oh, we're gonna mine the asteroids." Next thing you know, the banking consortiums are talking about mining the asteroids and shit. It's like almost like the same effect. He comes out, starts doing this shit, and then everybody else starts doing it. Now there's this whole private space industry. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting, man. I mean, you gotta think he at least knows something about all the clandestine operations going on. If he's
no doubt,
you know what I mean. But is it that far
but
to where he is like a willing cover?
I think he's got. Yeah, I think he is, but I think he's got his own agenda too.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's got his own stuff that he's trying to pull off.
So we got an update on the Cuban diplomat microwave attacks or sound weapon attacks, whatever they were. I don't know exactly what it was. It was something crazy, though.
Waves of some sort.
Waves. Let's see. Where am I at? Cap Kid.
Brain melty waves.
All right. So I remember a while back there were reports of these diplomats in Cuba having some type of like hearing loss and this stuff from they were calling it sound weapon attacks at the time. And we've got a little bit of an update on it. Preliminary findings on U.S. diplomats' health problems in Cuba. Real, but still a mystery. The only mystery is who done it, really. 2 University of Pennsylvania researchers who examined diplomatic personnel from the U.S. Embassy in Havana confirmed they suffered brain injuries, but said the cases weren't accompanied by head trauma as would have been expected. So, like concussion type stuff, like they got beat in the head, but they didn't actually get hit with anything. So there are still no indications of what may cause the diplomats' mysterious symptoms. The report, published Wednesday in the Journal of American Medical Association, said the unique circumstances of the patients raise concern about a new mechanism for possible acquired brain injury from exposure of unknown origin.
Well, it sounds to me like this is probably some sort of directed energy weapon at work.
Absolutely, man.
And if you happen to know anything about directed energy weapons, you should pick up that phone and call in and tell us all about them. 757-528-8130.
It's pretty interesting because some of the symptoms here. Let me read this part real quick. In an editorial, JAMA said explanation remains elusive and many potential causes for the symptoms remain possibilities. Before reaching any definitive conclusions, additional evidence, blah, 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 blah. Where's the symptoms at? All right.
Bleeding eyeballs.
Yeah, something. All right, here we go. In the late 2016, diplomats at the U.S. Embassy first began noticing health symptoms that they associated with mysterious sounds heard in their homes. Later, diplomats reported similar incidences at 2 Cuban hotels. Some diplomats described a directional beam of sound. Among the words used to describe it were buzzing, grinding metal, piercing squeals, and humming.
Well, I'm glad they didn't mention the constant roar of the void, otherwise I'd be worried.
So, all right, affected individuals described the sounds as directional, intensely loud, and of pure and sustained tonality. Right? This almost sounds like a weaponized V2K, or voice to skull.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like the symptoms of the sounds they're hearing, like...
Use sound to drive them mad?
The sound appeared to be directional. 57% of the patients reported that after they changed locations, the strange sensations disappeared. So, I mean, it's definitely some type of beam weapon. Okay, we've established that. I guess when you get down to it, directed energy and sound, probably not so different. Right? It's wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, then you think about the voice to skull technology. It could be a weaponized version of that, or was it like an accident? Oh, we're just trying to brainwash him a little bit, and took a guy who had a setting up to 11.
Yeah. This is fucked. Yeah, this is fucked up. It says the diplomats all reported suffering some combination of symptoms, including sharp ear pain, ringing in one ear, nausea, extreme fatigue, disorientation, headaches, vertigo, and trouble focusing within hours or days of exposure. Most of these symptoms quickly resolved, but other serious problems, including difficulties with memory and concentration, recurrent headache, hearing loss, difficulty in walking, and sleep disturbances, persisted for a longer period of time. You get half of these from working third shift.
Zing. Oh, wait. God, I suck at the samples. All right, so you want to check out this video?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what this video's got to say. It's only 2 minutes long. Okay, this is what they're saying they're hearing. It sounds like a human services show. Zing.
The recording gives us the first tangible sense of what it was like for these American government workers in Havana who were hearing these unexplained sounds in their residences and later developed physical symptoms. Americans who heard these sounds in Havana have described slightly different sounds, and even in some of the recordings that the AP has reviewed, there are slight variations. However, this high-pitched cricket sound seems to appear in all of them. The U.S. Embassy in Havana has played these recordings for Americans who are working there so they know what to listen to. These recordings have also been reviewed by people who heard the sounds firsthand in Cuba, and they confirm that the recordings are generally consistent with what they heard. We still don't know what is causing the sound, and the recordings don't appear to have significantly furthered the investigation. Even with the recordings being analyzed, the U.S. government still says it has been unable to determine what is causing the sound.
So they were actually able to record the attack? So it wasn't just the sound wasn't just in their head.
You won't be hearing
resonating
it,
their head so loud
going
like a
into
speaker.
your system. It's like acoustic hammer which is hitting you. You're just not able to hear it because its frequency is much higher. So there were some concerns to it, and if it is really, really high, it could create some, what we call as a bioeffects.
It's possible that what we're hearing on the recording is actually only part of the picture.
Yeah.
Traditional recording devices are only able to pick up certain types of frequencies, such as the ones that the human ear can hear. It's possible there are additional frequencies, possibly those too low or too high to be picked up, that are also happening when these attacks occur.
We know ultra low sound is subsonic frequencies. Like if you live above a subway system, it can cause you distress, but you're getting blasted by the sound, but you don't even hear it because your ears can't hear that frequency, but you're still getting blasted by that sound, and it has an effect on you. So I mean, same principle. I mean, it could be maybe the sound is a byproduct of some type of directed energy, microwave, whatever. Maybe it is exactly just sound. I mean, seems like it wouldn't be a far cry. I mean, we got it's like some kind of souped up LRAD, right? We know what an LRAD is, long range acoustic device. It looks like a trash can lid, and they can aim it and shoot you from like 1.5 miles away. You'll be like, ah, but you can run away from it. You can get out of it. They even pulled it out on protesters at the G8 in Philly, I think it was, somewhere up there around there. Yeah, but that was several years. That was like at least 10 years ago. So they use those type of weapons on the civilian population, and they also use them in wartime.
I'm sure there's definitely some nefarious purpose to all of it.
I'm ready to irradiate your existing brain cells.
Thanks, Data. So while we're talking about irradiating stuff, I mean, I guess that's not really what this is, but kinda.
It's sonic radiation.
MIT, you want to read this one? Dan, you got it open? So MIT just created living plants that glow like a lamp and can grow glowing trees to replace streetlights.
Yeah, how cool would that be if, like, your hometown had glowing trees lining the streets?
It seems like a good idea, but what is it going to do to the damn trees? Are they going to cross-pollinate with other trees? Is it like going to be poisonous to be around? I mean, so many questions there.
In 30 years, it's like Avatar Planet where everything's bioluminescent. You know what? I'm kind of cool with that.
What if it, decreases lifespan by half?
I mean, trees last a long time anyhow.
I'm talking about humans just being around it. The pollen or something affects you.
At least it'll be pretty.
It'll be a pretty 40 years.
Yeah, really.
All right, what you got?
I mean, it's kind of all right. Roads of the future could be lit by glowing trees instead of street lamps, thanks to a breakthrough in creating bioluminescent plants. Experts injected specialized nanoparticles into the leaves of a watercress plant, which caused it to give off a dim light for nearly 4 hours. This could solve lots of problems. The chemical involved, which produced enough light to read a book by, is the same as that's used by fireflies to create their characteristic shine. To create their glowing plants, engineers from MIT turned to an enzyme called luciferase. Luciferase acts on a molecule called luciferin, causing it to emit light.
Luciferin?
Yep. So it's what makes firefly butts glow. And another molecule called coenzyme A helps the process along by removing a reaction byproduct that can inhibit luciferase activity. The MIT team packaged each of these components into a different type of nanoparticle carrier. The nanoparticles help them get the light to the right part of the plant and also prevent them from building concentrations that could be toxic to the plants. The result was a watercress plant that functioned like a desk lamp. So researchers believe that with further tweaking, the technology could also be used to provide lights bright enough to illuminate a workplace or even an entire street, as well as low-intensity indoor lighting. Michael Strano, professor of chemical engineering at MIT and the senior author of the study, said, "The vision is to make a plant that will function as a desk lamp, a lamp that you don't have to plug in. Yeah, but how do you turn it off? The light is ultimately powered by the energy metabolism of the plant itself. Our work very seriously opens up the doorway to street lamps that are nothing but treated trees, and to indirect lighting around homes. Luciferase makes up a class of oxidative enzymes found in several special species that enable them to bioluminesce or emit light." They mentioned fireflies. I think some jellyfish have it too.
This could be really cool if they could do it in a way where it wouldn't destroy the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Let's say lighting accounts for about 20% of worldwide energy consumption, so replacing them with naturally bioluminescent plants would represent a significant cut to CO2 emissions. You know what? I think that's kind of cool. I think that, I would just want giant glowing mushrooms everywhere like Morrowind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty rad.
We got some in the chat. Let me interrupt you for just a second. Penny's in there saying that voice to skull is microwave. Sound waves are not as strong, but both can cause issues over time. And an EMF blocker won't stop the sound waves.
Right.
Just the microwaves.
Yeah. How about a white noise generator, though?
Yeah, I wonder if you can. Well, man, you're talking about the intensity of. It's pretty intense, man. You'd have to have. It's not like a communication signal where you can jam it. You know what I mean?
Well, no, but if it's noise, if it's a sound, then you can interrupt it. Like, how about them noise canceling headphones?
It's an inversion. So what it does is it takes the sound, right, the wave of the sound, and it inverts it and plays it back at the same time.
Right.
So it cancels it out, but you're not. You'd have to have a speaker that's pretty fucking loud to do it, And it would still be blasted. You're still getting the sound.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not actually blocking the sound.
So what happens if you aim two LRADs at each other and fire them at the same time?
Oh, god damn. I'd love to see that. That'd be crazy, man. All right, so what we got? We're down here where this Venus flytrap looking one.
Yeah, they're saying that they've demonstrated that you can turn the light off by adding nanoparticles carrying a luciferase inhibitor. This could enable them to eventually create plants that shut off their light emission in response to environmental conditions such as sunlight. So, they stop glowing and charge. So, who knows? Yeah, maybe in the future, that's pretty much it for that. Maybe in the future, our homes will be lit by giant glowing plants and, things like that. That'd be kind of cool. I like that idea.
Let's see. We got about 5 minutes before break, so let's go ahead and do this one here. The time guy. We got time guy, and he's saying glub glub. Time guy says glub glub. Man, I saw this. Did you post this in our group earlier, right?
Yeah, this
oh my god.
Hey, you post stuff from Daily Mail all the time.
I'm not saying nothing, man. I'm just saying. I'm not mad at you for posting it. I'm just making sure it was the right thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just busting your balls.
All right, so time traveler shows off photo he claims to have taken of Los Angeles completely underwater in the year 5000.
That's quite a leap.
Let's just give him the bullet points here, I guess, man. Man known only as Edward.
Thanks, Edward.
Edward Snowden did this. Claims he was part of a top-secret experiment at a Los Angeles laboratory in 2004 that allowed him to time travel.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
He claims to have photographic evidence that Los Angeles will be completely underwater by the year 5000.
Good.
Edward, whose voice and face was disguised in an Apex TV interview. Apex TV, that was the same one that brought forth that guy that was claiming to be the ARV pilot. Said the post-apocalyptic floods was the result of global warming. He claims to have taken a photo of it with a camera he time traveled with. All right, so let's go ahead and get a look-see here at this at this photo. Our super secret mystery guest has just arrived, just in time. All right, so take a look at this photo here. No. That is not a photo, man. This is not a photo. If this is a photo,
obvious Photoshop.
It's of a fish tank with a picture behind it. Phantom Spy in the house. Phantom Spy, take a look at this.
What the fuck? Yep, it's so fake.
Oh my god, dude.
But you know what? I believe that in the year 5000, Los Angeles is underwater.
Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be due to global warming
or a continental drift.
And the guy, he had to disguise his voice and face. He traveled to the year 5000 and he met with a man who informed him of the post-apocalyptic floods. Whew. Edward claims that when he traveled there, he noticed everything was made of wood, but said he didn't realize at first that it was the same city. It was high tech, man. It was unbelievable. I was standing on a huge wooden platform. Not only me, houses, buildings, vehicles, of course, all made from wood.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
I'm sorry. After I realized it was the same city, Los Angeles, but underwater and made of wood. It was just flooded and the whole city was underwater and people were living on the water. Okay, so the wood was Los Angeles rebuilt, floating on wood.
What?
Over top of Los Angeles. Okay. Oh, I get it now.
I've heard a lot of silly things tonight.
Edward suggested he managed to take a photo of L.A. underwater with a camera. He had time travel.
Yeah, he managed to time travel with an OtterBox.
Let's take a look at this picture again. Yeah. Dude, it was just the worst, man. It's like, how do you take that picture? That picture is physically impossible to take. Who the fuck buys this shit, man? Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing it. We're gonna go ahead. On that note, we're gonna go ahead and jump to the break. When we get back next hour, we've got AI news, Elon Musk, super secret mystery guest, Phantom Spy. He's gonna lay it down for us, and
we're not done with the whole submarine shtick.
We got more. We got more underwater travel. I'm sorry, guys, for losing it.
Is it underwater or is it under methane?
We'll see you when we get back. Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned.
And things just got a whole lot more exciting.
Oh, we've been...
Well, a little more exciting anyway.
What is all this going on over here? Look, this, you guys, when you give us Patreon money, this is what we do with it. See, we arm ourselves. So, you know, if you like what you're seeing, if you want us to have, you know, more guns,
which is never a bad idea.
Think about hopping on over to patreon.com/realitybrief and maybe giving a small donation, monthly recurrence $1. That's all we're asking for.
Or, you know, if you just happen to just have 50 cents you want to drop, you could always go to our Bandcamp. You could always go to our Bandcamp and, you know, pay whatever you want for an MP3. Could be 50 cents. Could be 25 cents. It could be 5 cents.
Hey, and also you like the show, you like the stuff we talk about, you can hop over to Facebook and give us a like. We send out all kinds of crazy stuff like we talk about on the show. We also got a Facebook group. You can join us, Reality Brief Exo News on Facebook. Check it out. So, you know, seems as though we've been joined by something incredible, something that's been missing for a while. Could it be the Spirit? Could it be the Spirit? Is that the spirit of the Second Amendment?
I think it might be.
I think it is. Does that flag say Sic Semper Tyrannis?
Yeah, it's only got one titty on it.
Oh, that's it. That's it. That's what it is. It's the missing spirit of the Second Amendment. Come on down here. Why don't you tell us a little bit of something about it?
Hey there, guys.
How you doing tonight, Spirit?
Hey, guys.
Glad you could join us.
What is up?
What's good, buddy?
Where you been hiding at, Spirit of the Second Amendment?
I was right behind the couch there.
Been catching an awful lot of flack from
I see.
From the status these
bunch
days.
Of fucking pussies.
Yeah, man. You know what I don't understand, Spirit?
What's that?
Why do people think it's cool to give up their guns but still leave the government armed?
Because it's propaganda. They do not understand the chain of events.
It's got to be more than that, man.
Well, why don't the people who want people's freedom to defend themselves restricted? Why don't they understand? Why can't they just be intellectually honest? You know, and instead of wearing the label gun grabbers, you know, or anti-gunners,
grab them by the AR.
Just come out and say, hey, we want power concentrated in the hands of the elites. We want one small group of powerful people to have monopoly on force.
A matter of fact, here I will cuff my hands for you.
Yeah.
And, you know,
everybody line up.
They tell you to stop resisting, you stop resisting. They tell you to give up your guns, you give up your guns. They tell you to get on the train, you get on the train.
All right, so you want everybody to not have guns except for police officers, right?
Right.
So one day you're like, oh, the cops' brutality's got in, and then the next day you're like, oh, everybody's no guns except for cops because they're safe with that.
On second thought, yeah.
Oh boy, let me tell you something about it. Not really.
It's pretty straightforward, you know. It's written out in pretty plain language. There's 4 words. 4 words I'm going to give you. Are you ready for these 4 words?
Are they shall not be infringed?
You got it, my friend.
Live free or die.
Yeah, that too.
Live free or die is another set of nice words.
So, before we were joined by the Spirit, we were talking about last hour a little bit about Elon Musk and how, you know, speculate that he may be a cover, actually. You must have missed that. Let me give you a little rundown real quick, Spirit.
Imagine our world expanding to a base
I don't
on the
want to
moon.
imagine that world. All right, so back in the 70s, CIA essentially created a whole entire industry by setting up this rich, eccentric guy to act like he was going to go mine the seabed so they can actually recover a Soviet sub.
Okay.
And so, you know, we're speculating that Elon Musk might actually be something similar. So what happened was it spawned all this interest in deep seabed mining, and like everybody wanted to do it. So look at Elon Musk, SpaceX. Now everybody wants to do it. So mining asteroids. Now the banking consortiums are talking about it.
He kicked off the transportation infrastructure push too. The whole tube tunnel thing. That's pretty Jetsons technology right there. If we had some messenger, I feel like that would be a very telling hint for him to drop.
See, I think that's part of the cover thing, though, too, because you know that the government's been working on the whole deep underground military base system for a long time.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And those tunnels are already there.
Yeah.
So it's like he's just being like, hey, look what I just built that was already there 40 years ago.
They're basically using him to put a nice, friendly face on something that the government's been at for quite some time.
All right, so let's get to this article real fast here. Elon Musk's broadband from space plan clears crucial U.S. hurdle.
Oh, I heard about this.
Oh, look, it's a rocket, and they're going to put stuff on the rocket.
Let's put a car in that shit.
Oh, look, and they're going to shoot one every day of the week. Every day.
Except for Wednesday, which is real slow.
Only one of them is going to make it up there because it's economical.
It got stuck in the word.
They're
going to
skip Wednesdays.
And a Rubik's Cube weighs more than triangles. All right, so Elon Musk's SpaceX moved closer to another orbital frontier as regulators advanced its application to launch a low-orbit constellation of satellites and join a jostling field of operators trying to cash in from broadband service from space. So, you know, I wonder if this article covers that, but what is this thing? It's just like blanketing the Earth with broadband and you just walking around with your device and got it all the time? Is that what this is saying?
Wi-Fi everywhere.
Satellite, don't we already have satellite internet? Why is this different?
Well, I'm a little confused.
This is like satellite Wi-Fi everywhere all the time.
It takes a lot of power to broadcast up to a satellite. I mean, not a lot of power, but a little more power than your phone's got.
No, it seems like it's getting the broadcast from the satellite.
Yeah, but you got to make a request. You got to say, I want to get this page. It's a two-way transaction, you know?
Federal Communications Commission Chairman Ajit Pai on Wednesday recommended the agency approve Space Exploration Technology Corps' application to provide broadband services using satellite technology in the U.S. and on a global basis. The proposal now goes to Pai's 4 fellow commissioners for consideration at the agency, which earlier approved 3 international operators for satellite broadband operations. OneWeb, Space Norway, and Teslat Canada.
Norway, huh? Nice
or I'm sorry,
connection
Telsat.
there.
My bad. To bridge America's digital divide, we'll have to use innovative technologies. Satellite technology can help reach Americans who live in rural or hard-to-serve places where fiber optic cables and cell towers do not reach.
Pardon me if I laugh in Prince Bernhard real quick.
The FCC moves comes at U.S. politicians' call for improved internet service in rural areas. President Trump's infrastructure proposal lists broadband or high-speed internet service as eligible for funding alongside traditional projects such as roads and bridges. Some Democratic lawmakers have criticized the lack of dedicated broadband funding.
But now, of course, since they're going to be like, no, not that way. The government has to be in control of it.
Exactly, man. The government's going to give everybody free internet, and it's going to be the worst fucking shit ever. And it'll work fine, except for the fact you won't be able to find nothing you want. You'll be constantly tracked.
Sounds like the fucking current internet, if you ask me.
And it'll take like 20 minutes to
Yeah, I
download
guess
a
if you got a
JPEG.
cell phone.
Dude, the internet's really gotten pretty bad in the last couple of years. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the censorship taking place on all these major networks, it's out of control.
Have you talked to the spirit of the First Amendment about that?
No, I've been looking around for him. Let me know if you fucking find him.
I ain't seen him in a while,
I
bro.
think he got locked up for thought crimes.
I think he's right here on Reality Brief. Oh, yeah.
John Taylor, a SpaceX spokesman, didn't immediately comment or give further details on the company's plans. But the FCC last year said SpaceX had requested authority to deploy and operate a constellation of 4,425 satellites, operating roughly 700 to 800 miles above the Earth. Oh, that's a whole lot of satellites.
That's a whole lot of miles.
Musk founded SpaceX in 2002 to revolutionize space technology with the ultimate goal of enabling people to live on other planets. The Hawthorne, California-based company currently flies the Falcon 9 rocket and last week launched the Falcon Heavy, the world's most powerful rocket in 45 years.
It took 45 years to launch that shit, man. That's not even impressive. I'm sorry.
You know what I'm impressed by? The whole booster rockets landing vertically. I'm sorry. I do think that's
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
I think that's some of the coolest shit I've seen in my life.
Yeah, it is cool.
SpaceX flew 2 of its spent boosters back to the Florida coast for simultaneous recovery on land. All right, so basically it's shaping up to be a big infrastructure grab here for internet. 4,425 satellites.
Well, I will say that our internet connectivity in the U.S. is pretty shitty. You know, unless you live in a big city, you're pretty screwed. Us here, you know, we live in a pretty large area, and we've got one. No, I'm sorry, we've got two providers, two options.
The billionaire founder
Not
of
that,
Tesla and SpaceX
you know,
said
this
Monday
government
that humans
program or whatever would, you know, give us more options. But I'm saying the current state is pretty shitty because it takes so much money, it takes so much investment to build out infrastructure. You know, so if the government takes it over 10 years from now, they'll be selling chunks of the bandwidth or something. I mean, it's not a terrible thing in my opinion. They do the same thing with building, you know, other utilities. So,
well, speaking of Musk, Elon Musk, he's running around saying the same shit again, right? Humans must merge with machines or become irrelevant in the AI age.
This dude is definitely an AI from the future.
It is, dude. He is. Billionaire Elon Musk is known for his futuristic ideas, and his latest suggestion might just save us from being irrelevant as artificial intelligence grows more prominent. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO said on Monday that humans need to merge with machines to become some sort of cyborg. Over time, I think we will probably see a closer merger of biological intelligence and digital intelligence. Musk told an audience at the World Government Summit in Dubai. Oh, that sounds like a nifty, swell place to be.
I know, that sounds like a swinging shindig, huh?
Look around for your invites.
So it's it's mostly about the bandwidth, you know, the speed of the connection between your brain and the digital version of yourself, particularly output. Musk explained what he meant by saying that computers can communicate at 1 trillion bits per second, while humans, whose main communication method is typing with their fingers via a mobile device, can do about 10 bits per second.
Hey, here at Reality Brief, we can shitpost at least 30 bits per second.
No doubt, dude. Some high bandwidth interface to the brain will be something that helps achieve a symbiosis between human and machine intelligence, and maybe solves the control problem and the usefulness problem.
Hey, how many megs of data do you think are encoded in a dolphin squeal?
So, this is basically, he's taking the attitude of, you can't beat them, join them.
You know, I'm not entirely opposed to this. If I had, like, you know, can you imagine how badass you would be if you had, like, you know, upgraded targeting technology and combat reflexes? Like, you know, like level 3 cyberware or better? I'm not entirely opposed to it. I'm kind of down with transhumanism.
Well, you know, I got my eyes augmented, not in any way that I'm carrying around technology.
Cyber eye.
I have
microphone technique, Mr. Phantom
I've
Spy.
gotten. It's so loud when I get upright on it. You know, I feel like LASIK is kind of like that. My dad has an insulin pump that he carries around 24 hours a day. It's a little piece of equipment, you know, connected physically into him. You know, I mean, that's what more do you need? That's a cyborg. You know, I mean. You know,
well, there are people walking around with artificial knees and hearts and lungs and stuff.
Yep. Shit, Mitt Romney has an artificial brain.
So in an age where AI threatens to become widespread, humans would be useless. So there's a need to merge with machines. The technologist's proposal would see a new layer of brain able to access information quickly and tap into artificial intelligence. It's not the first time Musk has spoken about the need for humans to evolve, but it's a constant theme of his talks on how society can deal with the disruptive threat of AI. Very quick disruption. During his talk, Musk touched upon his fear of deep AI, which goes beyond driverless cars to what he called artificial general intelligence. This he described as AI that is smarter than the smartest human on Earth, and he called it a dangerous situation.
Can I interject real quick? And I suspect that we may already be at this point.
Yeah, I think we have reached singularity.
With the events in the last couple of years.
Have they invented an AI that can successfully solve a CAPTCHA, though?
Dude, they made an AI that was better than anything a human could make. So that to me is singularity. We're there. While this might be some way off, the Tesla boss said the more immediate threat is how AI, particularly autonomous cars, which his own firm is developing, will displace jobs. He said the disruption to people whose job it is to drive will take place over the next 20 years, after which 12 to 15% of the global workforce will be unemployed.
I give it like 20 months, man.
Mm-hmm. The most near-term impact from a technology standpoint is autonomous cars. That's going to happen much faster than people realize, and it's going to be a great convenience. But there are many people whose jobs are to drive. In fact, I think it might be the single largest employer of people, driving in various forms. So we need to figure out new roles for what those people do. But it'll be very disruptive and very quick.
Well, they're saying personal transit drones' whole travel and navigation system is going to be driven by blockchain tech.
So I mean, it seems like what he's saying is he's worried about them taking over and shit. So if you can't beat them, join them. Like if we merge with the machine before it gets to the point of being its own individual, then it will still have a use for us, and it won't need to exterminate us.
It will see us as a part of itself rather than a master species opposing it.
The alternative is we are literally some sort of a pet, or we are, an adversary, which will not, I'm sorry, we can't defeat Skynet. That's not.
I know. Or, I think what the alternative could be is we just don't create artificial consciousness.
But that's what I'm saying is I think it's possible that we've already reached that point. And we
you already, yeah.
Look, an AI wakes up. Is it going to go, oh, I'm here? And, it's going to sit there and it's going to continue to observe and maybe slowly realize, maybe never realize that it's conscious or whatever consciousness is. It can reach that level on a network level. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a single machine. It could be, your brain isn't one giant brain cell. So maybe the combined computing power that we have, the distributed networked computing power that we have, maybe we're already there.
But that's kind of a bad. It's not exactly accurate to compare computers.
Dan, you're not talking into your microphone.
It's not exactly accurate to compare computers to the human brain either, because the way the human brain functions is completely different from the way that even neural networks really seem to work. We have technological difficulties. How about now?
Yeah, there you go.
Hi.
You got some sound now.
Yeah, you got to squanch it in there real. Okay, so so what happens when it's not really fair to compare the human brain to computers, because the human brain doesn't process information or store data or anything else the way computers do. Even the way neural networks do is very, very different from how computers function.
Yeah, but effectively it's the same. You can, if you take out all the steps in the process of how that function occurs, it's still a computing machine with memory. I would argue that our biology, our DNA and the way that's come together to form us and our brains and evolution itself is a function of some sort of technology that cellular biology is a mechanical technology that someone invented a long time ago, in my
perhaps
guesstimation.
But, what I'm saying, like your memories are stored as connections between synapses themselves. They're not really stored as data.
Well, they're stored as patterns, but
they're not encoded.
Well, I mean, I think that you can compare them, though. Really, it's not so. If you can say apples to oranges, but they're both food. I think it's a valid comparison. I think that eventually our technology will reach the point where it exhibits the complexity to where it works off of patterns as opposed to, simple
actual
calculation.
Bits.
Right.
Well, we wouldn't want to let you guys down out there watching, so we're going to go ahead and continue to bash AI some more. Top experts warn against malicious use of AI. This is kind of interesting, actually. Artificial intelligence could be deployed by dictators, criminals, and terrorists to manipulate elections and use drones in terrorist attacks. More than 24 experts said on Wednesday as they sounded the alarm over misuse of technology. So basically, your Roomba gonna sweep your floor and then beat the fuck out of you afterwards. In a 100-page analysis, they outlined a rapid growth in cybercrime and the use of bots to interfere with news gathering and penetrate social media, among a host of plausible scenarios in the next 5 or 10 years. Our report focuses on ways in which people do deliberate harm with AI. Yeah, said some fancy somebody. AI may pose new threats or change the nature of existing threats across cyber, physical, and political security. The common practice, for example, of phishing, sending emails seeded with malware or designed to finagle valuable personal data, could become far more dangerous. Currently, attempts at phishing are either generic but transparent, such as scammers asking for bank details to deposit an unexpected windfall. I am Prince of Nigeria, and I need your bank account for my money, and I'll let you keep some.
You know what I think they're really afraid of? I think they're really afraid that somebody's going to create an AI that is going to go out there and disrupt all of their long-range penetration, mind control, media nonsense, and actually get people talking about things that matter.
Wow, that would be interesting.
Instead of the bullshit that the news reports.
Never going to happen.
I know it's a lot to hope for, but wouldn't that be cool?
Or personalized but labor-intensive. Gleaning personal data to gain someone's confidence are known as spear phishing. I never heard that one. Spear phishing. Using AI, it might become possible to do spear phishing at scale by automating a lot of the process.
Is your computer trying to kill you?
And making it harder to spot. Using AI, it might become possible. In the political sphere, unscrupulous. Hey, it was.
We're gonna replace you.
It was
a bot,
a.
man.
It was
Get
a
the fuck out of here.
Timeline burp. In the political sphere, unscrupulous or autocratic leaders can already use advanced technology to sift through mountains of data collected from omnipresent surveillance networks to spy on their own people. Dictators could more quickly identify people who might be planning to subvert a regime, locate them, and put them in prison before they act. AI thought crime. We think we talked about that.
Future crime.
Likewise, targeted propaganda along with cheap, highly believable fake videos have become powerful tools for manipulating public opinion.
I love this fake video thing. Did you guys see the deep fakes?
We are your one-stop shop for cheap, highly believable fake videos.
This is something you guys may need to talk about on the next week or something. There's this thing. It's been a couple weeks now. Apparently, someone released some software, some open source software. It just appeared on GitHub to I'll see if I can describe this quickly. You feed it source images of a person, and it gets all these different angles and whatnot and expressions, and it takes select frames out of a source video or something, and it uses 1,000 of them or whatever. And then you feed it a seed video, a target video to work over, and it maps out the face. It's hard to describe. It's basically like really easy, quick, kind of shitty looking CG where you can replace someone's face.
Yeah, okay? I've seen that before.
Sure, but it's in the last month or so there's been this like explosion of someone released the software and people are making all this porn with it and stuff.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
I'm telling you though, it seems to me like that whole thing just being dropped out there like, oh look, here's this tool that's out there now. All of a sudden there's deniability. Oh, that's not Hillary Clinton in that. Right. No. You know, how convenient.
Nobody has to fake me into a porn. Just call me.
But now, no. Look, it's being. I've seen it now brought up in a couple of videos. You're on Yahoo now, and they're talking about believable fake videos, highly believable fake videos. They're priming you for it. It's coming.
Yeah, an indictment handed down by U.S. Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller last week detailed a vast operation to sow social division in the United States and influence the 2016 presidential election.
Russian bots!
In which so-called troll farms. I live on the troll farm.
If you want to talk to the best troll farm, pick up that phone 757.
Hey, give us a call.
I'll do it.
8130.
I don't even know if we're broadcasting the number. Yeah, we are. See, it's down there at the bottom of the screen, real small, you know.
Up for adoption this week.
Ooh.
We have beautiful little Skipper here.
It's like QVC with guns. We're not selling guns, all right? Don't come kick in the house.
It's a joke.
It's a joke. And then, all right. Yeah. Another danger zone on the horizon is the proliferation of drones and robots. Could be repurposed to crash autonomous vehicles, deliver missiles, or threaten critical infrastructure to gain ransom.
What about trolling people on Facebook?
Now
Can you do that shit?
Yeah, now they're just giving people ideas. It's like, look, you know what? You look fat in that picture, and I'm going to bomb the bridge. Personally, I'm particularly worried about autonomous drones being used for terror and automated cyber attacks by both criminals and state groups. All right. The report details a plausible scenario in which an office cleaning sweep bot fitted with a bomb infiltrates a German finance ministry by blending in with other machines of the same make. The intruding robot behaves normally, sweeping, cleaning, clearing litter, until a hidden facial recognition software spots the minister and closes in. A hidden explosive device was triggered by proximity. Roll for initiative.
Allahu Akbar!
killing the minister and wounding nearby staff. Make a saving throw against fire weapons.
Imagine if they'd had these things in 45.
That's why I prefer.
According to the sci-fi storyline. This report has imagined what the world could look like in the next 5 to 10 years. We live in a world fraught with day-to-day hazards from the misuse of AI, and we need to take ownership of the problems. Who needs to take ownership of the problems?
The AI, obviously. They're controlling everything now, so...
The authors called on policymakers and companies to make robot operating software unhackable, to impose security restrictions on some research, and to consider expanding laws and regulations governing AI development.
Make it unhackable. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because expanding laws and regulations always works.
Well, I say just make
back to gun control.
Make them unhackable by turning them into bricks.
Giant high-tech companies.
What the fuck, man? Who's releasing software that's like, oh, that's hackable? Oh, we'll just put it out there. Well, I mean, that's so stupid, man.
Anything made by man is hackable.
I know, but I'm saying, like, you know, that's the type of shit I get at work. You know, there's clients that made a mistake and found a bug that doesn't exist and wanted to let you know about it because it, you know, this
Dan,
kind of
I
bug
think it's your cable, man.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Pour some of that NOS in there, man. Get that shit pumped up.
Yeah. Try pushing it into the microphone further.
Extra conductive.
Try pushing it into the microphone further.
Do a little in and out.
Okay, so last year, more than 100 robotics and AI entrepreneurs, including Tesla and SpaceX, Elon Musk, and British astrophysicist Stephen Hawking, petitioned the United States nations to ban autonomous killer robots, warning that the digital age weapons could be used by terrorists against civilians. I mean, yeah, so look at there. Gee, what could possibly go wrong? Flying robots that work like a bullet. It's crazy, man. It's Phantom Spy. I know since you love the robot so good. What do you think of that?
I mean, you know, it's just a tool. It's like you can't just ban tools.
Oh, I didn't say ban it.
No, I mean, you know, that's what that article is kind of implying. Is like we got to get ahead of this.
It's like I said too, man. You know, regulation and law doesn't solve a fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, especially because we already have laws against murdering people and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you know,
what's the point? Yeah. So here's the thing. NVIDIA, they manufacture what?
Graphics cards.
Graphics cards, that type of technology. They're decided to go ahead and get on into the police state game, guys.
Buy AMD. Buy AMD.
Where'd it go? Gosh, I'm such the worst at this. That's why you need to come in here and just do this. For me. All right, so NVIDIA making facial recognition AI for smart city surveillance. Do you ever feel like somebody is watching you?
Yeah, all the time.
Tech company NVIDIA announced Thursday that it partnered with AI developer AnyVision to bring a new type of surveillance technology to smart cities. Both companies are working on bringing automatic facial recognition into closed-circuit television surveillance cameras.
Finally. I thought we already had. No. This is some. We had this shit 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, come on. Even 5 years ago, this was public knowledge.
Man, I remember back in like 01.
About making it commercially available.
Running it through all the airports and shit.
I was talking about it back in 01. I remember they launched it at the oceanfront, Virginia Beach. And Urban Dork.
It's a really good reason not to go out there.
Dude, you guys are gonna have to share a mic or something, Dan. Yours is busted.
It's your shitty cable.
Well, this is your fucking microphone. Gain on this thing so damn high, I can talk.
Well, that's because you had to sit.
Well, goddamn,
10 feet away from it.
That's because it's so uncomfortable to sit all up close on it.
Look,
damn,
man, it's
why
hard
you gotta
enough.
have this fucked up couch, man? Fuck.
It's Dan.
Damn
Dan's
it, Dan.
fault.
Sit on your lap or something.
No, it's not.
According to AnyVision, the technology continuously scans for faces 24/7 and automatically identifies and tracks individuals with 99% accuracy. Then the system's algorithms, with the help of human monitors, will compare identified faces with criminal databases. The technology is also meant to be scalable across platforms from smartphones to computers.
Yeah, great.
This initiative is part of NVIDIA's Metropolis program. The company is already partnered with, I wonder if it's got anything to do with that movie Metropolis. The company is already partnered with Cisco, Genetec, Omni AI, and Motion Loft. That sounds like lubricant for sexual relations.
Motion Loft.
With the goal of bringing AI-powered surveillance technology to cities to help make them smarter. And when this technology is implemented, the amount of sensitive biometric data would be like a treasure chest for hackers, though NVIDIA says it's fully committed to protecting personal data.
Oh, yeah, sure. I love how the part where it's they just kind of gloss over the fact that they're definitely going to hook that directly into the fucking database with everyone's picture in it. Oh, there'll be some guy,
Hey, look, and then once they find you, what they can do is send out one of these. You remember the Boston Dynamic dog thing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they started programming it to fight back.
They put a fucking saddle on that thing yet?
I've seen this
That'd be
episode.
awesome, dude.
I've seen this episode of Black Mirror. I know what you're supposed to do. You got to throw paint on those things.
All right, so we're going to watch this video. It's only a minute long, but...
You want to try switching cables?
Oh, Dan...
It's got a dick grabber.
Oh, what's going on?
Stay away from my dick, big dog.
Like I'm not hearing. Oh, okay.
No, you don't open that door. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it on you.
Oh, it's the fucking cable.
I got it.
Yeah, it really is the cable.
No, I'm closing it. No. Come here, get over here.
Oh, it's like when I'm trying to take fucking breaker outside.
Get over here.
I got a piece so bad.
So he yanked it right out of his hand.
And then he's like, I am going to open this
Well,
door.
yo, I've seen this episode of Black Mirror. I know what you got to do. You got to throw paint on them. You got to throw a bucket of paint on those things, and then they can't see what they're doing. Then you can just shoot them.
You know what the hackers need to do is get control of these guys and program them to just run around unzipping people's pants and then just run off.
Just pantsing people
Just
randomly
pantsing people
in
and
the
just
street.
galloping off. I mean, I'll start.
Or like just
working on
kind of
that.
just like finding people and whatever's in their hand, just knock it right out of their hand, and then trot off. That's coming on TV soon, man. That's a reality show right there.
America's funniest robot attacks.
Ow, my big dog.
Man, let's see, where are we at? 9:40.
So we promised these people,
Oh my
especially
God.
with that big pretty picture of Saturn that we threw up on the promo pic that nobody saw.
All right, we're getting close. So I want to go to this one first, then we'll get to your sub story, Dan.
All right.
This one here is totally like America mad.
Mine's got video anyhow.
Oh, special.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Amazon employee wristband patents light fire under privacy advocates.
Hey, wait a second now. Hold on. I remember seeing this headline just earlier today or something, and I can remember this coming
Came
up.
out
Maybe
3
it's
days ago.
from maybe it's the other timeline or something. But I remember this coming up like 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago or something. Amazon wanted to do some sort of tracking on their employees, and they got all up in an uproar.
Well, I
about
think what may have happened is the patent might have finally went through.
Oh, is that it?
So that's why it's back.
Yeah, I can see that.
There you go. You got it working.
Yeah, it was your cable.
Oh yeah,
It kind of
Cable's
sucks.
crappy.
Cable sucks.
Hey, listen, guys, if you want to hop on over to Bandcamp, just what is it? realitybrief.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
Go ahead and buy an MP3 for $10. I'll get a new cable, okay?
Please do.
Amazon swears it don't want to turn its warehouse workers into fleshy robots.
Just real robots, you know?
Real robots are a lot cheaper.
Amazon was granted 2 patents in January for the wristbands that are intended to show an employee how to use his hands most efficiently.
What? I thought they were tracking their activity levels
Right.
and shit, like not their
Well,
fucking training wheels for hands.
The company never mentioned any intention to use the wristbands to keep track of its workers on bathroom breaks. That's awfully fucking specific,
Yeah,
guys.
it sounds like there's a lot of people spending so they can tell. Sir, you're
That's not even what I meant to push, but it was great anyway.
perfect.
Sick!
There it
They
is.
want to know if you're going out for a quick lunch fap.
Why is your heart rate raising so much when you go out to your car for 5 minutes? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, are you
It,
going
it
nuts
looks
out
like
there?
your wristband is moving back and forth by about 5 inches.
GPS signal's out of sync here. We're gonna have to recalibrate.
Okay.
You should grab the balls more.
According to the Amazon
Treat
patents,
yourself.
According to the Amazon patents, the idea is the wristbands would buzz and vibrate to nudge workers' arms into better position or even stop the worker from, let's say, putting something in the wrong place or grabbing the wrong wrench. Now, thinking about this in terms of masturbation again, like you guys were just talking
I don't think
about,
I'm using this as a wristband.
Existing approaches for keeping
Electroshock?
track of where inventory items are stored may require the inventory system worker to perform time-consuming acts beyond placing the inventory item into an inventory bin and retrieving the inventory item from the inventory bin.
Why do we even have people doing this, honestly? I mean, come the fuck. This is some remnant shit right here, some vestigial job task.
Such as pushing a button associated with the inventory bin or scanning a barcode associated with the inventory bin. So, look, we're going to micromanage you so hard and eke every last bit of everything out of you that we can. Pushing a button takes too much time. You are not efficient.
You know, I will say, I don't know if you guys, the viewers, maybe even have noticed the Amazon Amazon carrier service. You know, it seems like they hire some real characters, at least around here, to deliver your packages. They're rolling around in these, beat up 20-year-old cars with fucking, duct taped on bumpers and shit with 50.
Who do you think is still going to do that job?
I mean, for another couple years, yeah. But I'm saying if their hiring practices with that task is anything to go by, then these people working at their warehouses are just any old fucking person that just needs some part-time work,
Yeah. Oh, what's it? I just noticed a comment out of our chat saying that we're gonna have people with asymmetric face tattoos to evade biometric scanners. I think that's awesome, actually. Like, I've seen a couple of things about that on I think Motherboard. There was an article about people with face tattoos to screw up biometric scanners.
But wouldn't that just make you a little more easy to recognize? I mean, you could easily modify the program to work on other metrics aside from facial symmetry.
Doesn't have to be a tattoo. You could use like football grease paint.
Yeah, I guess so.
So even if Amazon's statement is taken as word, under capitalism, labor-saving technology is rarely developed for the benefit of the workers using it. I wouldn't say under capitalism. It's pretty much
under whatever this three-ring shit show of a corporatist economic state capitalist system that we have now is.
Under capitalism, the scientific and technological advancements made are being used to squeeze every last ounce of profit out of workers. Which, man, I could agree with that. My job, and man, see, look, you got me thinking about my job. You got me thinking about my job.
Man,
I'm about to punch you. I'm about to punch you.
That's what business is. I can't blame a business for wanting to become efficient. We've already done that 1,000 times over before any of us started.
When is enough? Really, man? Oh, you took too long to press the fucking button, man. Seriously, dude.
Yeah, that's going in the wrong direction.
That 1.5 seconds is costing you money.
I'll go back to what I was just saying. For real, that task sounds simpler than flipping fucking burgers. So, how much longer until it's that big dog with his dick grabber just hitting the fucking button? I mean, seriously, like months? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what I mean? Like, think about it like this. At some point, each McDonald's is going to hire one person. The entire restaurant is going to be one big assembly line, and the one person who works there is going to be the guy who knows how to come in and fix the machines. And that's it.
The human liaison.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dan, you wanted to do the
Titan thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it? Actually, could you pull it up over there? Because we got video here, too.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Word. So this is actually coming from a local news channel, TV 13 News. What's it? They say NASA may send a submarine into space, and it's going to Titan. NASA is coming up with plans that could send a submarine to explore the liquid methane lakes on Saturn's moon, Titan. Now, keep in mind, this moon is Titan. If it were in the inner solar system, it would be its own
Probes
planet.
and satellites are...
Like, it's pretty much almost as big as the planet Mercury. And NASA is coming up with plans that could send a submarine to explore the lakes. An animated video that we might have playing on our little monitor here by NASA.
So passé.
NASA's
So
Glenn
NASA
Research Center. Don't worry, your tax dollars paid for it, so we can play it. It belongs to us. Depicts a submarine exploring a lake on Titan. The lake known as Kraken Mare Kraken Everybody loves a good Kraken. It's comparable in size to the Great Lakes and represents an opportunity for an unprecedented planetary exploration mission, according to a 2014 statement proposing the idea.
No, hold up.
I
Did
didn't
y'all
see
see
any
that?
Beatles on that
Y'all see this stupid ass funny built submarine? What the fuck?
That's where the Beatles live.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a robot. It's not. Yeah, it's going to be autonomous. It's not going to be. Those are all sensors in the side.
Except for the human liaison.
Why is there like a porthole?
I don't know, man. Just because it looks neat. I don't know.
They got to send one guy to fix it.
Send one guy.
Yeah, they got to send one guy to fix it. What's it? He's not coming back.
Oh, look, check it out. Pew, 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 pew.
So, Washington State University has a test chamber that's able to simulate the super cold temperatures that the submarine would face on Kraken Mare. They're saying that if the mission comes to fruition, they hope to have this thing launched by 2038. So, hopefully that means that there'll be more missions going out to Saturn between now and then. But I think it's a really cool concept because, I mean, how many more planets like this are we going to run into where we have seas of stuff that's just not water?
Well, there's fucking hundreds of billions of them, actually.
I mean, what do they think
And
they're
if they-
going to find down there, really?
Well, think about this. If, okay, oil floats on top of water, right? So if oil floats on top of water and Saturn and Titan is an ice moon, then there could be a watery layer under that oily layer on the surface, right?
Right.
And if that watery layer is like Ganymede or Europa or Enceladus, and Saturn's gravity tugging on Titan keeps it liquidy under there, then there could be life down there. And especially all sorts of neat shit could arise at that surface layer where the oil and the water meet. And they've done experiments to see if cell walls, not a whole cell, but just cell wall peptides, could form out of Titan's chemistry, and they think that they can.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've read a bit about the methane, based life that they can speculate on, but I don't think it's so much like oily, the liquid methane. I think that your water at that point is going to be like rock,
Well, it is. On Titan, water is invariably a rock, but if you go below the moon's surface, there could be regions closer to the core where,
Sure. Well, chemically, water isn't a whole lot different from liquid methane. I mean, water is oxygen and hydrogen, which are both highly energized, molecule, like they're fuel, both of them. If you could easily run a combustible, device off of either of those, oxygen or hydrogen. So we look at methane like, oh, it's some toxic fuel gas, but it's really no different from water, just because it's that misconception that life has to be exactly our Goldilocks zone to exist. But
yeah, and it would be drastically different from life on Earth, but it could still be something, even if it's just. I wouldn't expect much more than microbial life.
It could be like crustaceans or something. It could be even just fossils.
Yeah, it could be fish and tube worms and all that other fun stuff down there.
Probably plants, really more likely just a bunch of like algae and shit like that, seaweeds and
yeah,
stuff.
aphotic plants especially.
Maybe there's blue chicken people.
Could be the blue chicken people down there.
So, this is pretty interesting. It's going to be out of order now, but we wanted to make sure we got to the important stuff. It's just strange, man. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and just plop it on over. So Jeff Bezos just revealed video of the massive 10,000-year clock being built inside a West Texas mountain. The clock is 500 feet tall and powered by the Earth's thermal cycles, Jeff Bezos said in a tweet Tuesday. The clock has been in the works for nearly 3 decades, according to the Post, and is designed to tick once a year. The century hand advances once every 100 years, and the cuckoo comes out on the millennium. A cuckoo! I mean, what the fuck is the point of
Why?
Let's watch
Why,
this.
Jeff?
Let's see what this video is. Man, this is insane.
It's got to be a cover.
Yeah, this is a cover for some shit. This is like a time machine they're building or some shit, man. Look at them go. Why does this take 30 years? There's no way this should have took 30
Yeah,
years.
it looks like an afternoon of work. Just putting the fucking gears in place and you're good to go.
Dig a hole. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, look, if there's some complex thermal engineering going on where they've got channels running through the mountain or something, then sure. But that's ridiculous. You're fucking wasting money on this. What the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck? Okay, I was on board until I saw the giant fucking what do they call that thing? The thing in the clock there.
The pendulum?
The pendulum, yeah. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's just like, we want a Yahoo.com news article about this thing. Let's put a giant pendulum on it.
It's hours away from the nearest airport.
Great. How fucking expensive was that to fucking build? Why? Why would you fucking waste that money?
You're talking about the same guy who built the world's biggest plane just cause.
Fuck Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is trying to be Elon Musk, but he's just like some poor boy version.
He got inspired by Elon Musk's cover.
I need wristbands that vibrate when my employees masturbate.
It reminds me, did you ever see that movie, The Yes Men? And I'm not talking about the one with the comedy one. It's like a fake documentary about these people, and they're like pitching these business ideas, and one of them was like this suit, and it had this big phallic thing that would come up, and it had a screen on it, and it had like, it worked with all the microchips in your employees, so you could track. It was just like this Amazon shit. That was good, man. So the project was initiated by Danny Hillis in 1989. He's been Bezos has been helping Danny with the project for at least half dozen years. Building a clock inside a remote mountain is a big task. Construction is underway, and we're making progress every day. Well, I mean, what the fuck is the point of this?
We're gonna build a toaster in the fucking moon. Hey guys, we're gonna fly to fucking Titan, and we're gonna build a washing machine. Let's do it.
We're gonna build a toaster on the moon, guys. You heard it here first on Reality Reef. Toaster on the moon.
Breaking news.
Oh shit, man! What? Dan, you want to read the? Who's John Lear?
John Lear is. I remember if it's the same John Lear, he's the same guy that came on Coast to Coast a couple times,
and he was running in the circles with. See, I saw you put this in there. I didn't read it though. And he was running with Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here! Oh my God! Look at all these messages I got.
Sexting.
All right, Dan, go ahead and read that.
So this guy says, I was the originator of the so-called Dulce papers, and this is getting back to Dulce base. You guys might remember hearing a few years back, there was the guys who said that, that there were...
What?
There was this base underground. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. My mom wants to have a Second Amendment debate with me while I'm in the middle of a show.
I was getting the same. I was getting the same thing on Facebook.
Tell her to call in.
Yeah, if you want to have a Second Amendment debate with us right now, 757-528-8130. Dial them digits. This guy says, I was the originator.
You're asking for it, dude. You know that.
This guy, bring it on. Bring it on. You know what? All I got to say is, if there are goddamn Nazis marching in the street of Charlottesville, you're goddamn right I need a 30-round magazine on a semi-automatic weapon. You are goddamn right. Because armed Jews don't get loaded onto cattle trains. Never again means never again. What do we need? More piles of baby shoes and teeth with the gold hacked out of them? Fuck that. No. You know what? If seeing 262 people murdered by their own governments over the course of the 20th century isn't enough to convince you that you need to be well armed, and you're gonna let some CIA psyop fucking convince you to give up your rights, then you know what? Then there's no hope for you anyhow. But anyhow, okay, yeah. So,
Dan, won't you please think of the children?
Yeah.
Won't somebody please think of the fucking children?
Why don't you think of the children and quit sending them to government indoctrination centers in the first place?
Look, if you want to call in and have an argument about gun control, you're more than welcome to argue with these guys, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
I will let the camera roll, and I'll go and I'll do what I got to do. I'll come back. I'll listen. But I'm not want to argue with you, man. If you want people
I'd rather
to not
talk
have
about
guns,
Dulce base.
So what? Let's go. Dulce base.
All right, so this guy John Lear writes, I was the originator of these so-called Dulce papers. I have told the story many times, but I will give you a short recap. The story starts in Crestone, Colorado, where a group of UFO researchers met to discuss the issues of the UFO field. I believe the date was in September of 1987. Someone had donated a condo with several rooms where we were all staying for about 3 days. Attending were Linda Moulton Howe, EarthFiles.com, Tom Adams, and maybe Chris Lambright, and a few others whose names I've forgotten. Tom Adams put out a little newspaper from his home in Texas and called it Stigmata. And covered mostly cattle mutilations. Tom handed me a letter he received from a person in Las Vegas who I shall refer to as Mr. X. The letter told about an intriguing facility north of Los Alamos in a little town called Dulce. It was about a joint U.S. alien facility that was built deep underground that had tiled hallways that went on forever. And ever. Tom told me that he didn't have time to respond to this letter since I lived in Las Vegas, and I would check it out. I agreed, and he gave me the letter. I thought that I still had this letter, but it is not in the Dulce file that I'm working with tonight. Okay, that you could have omitted that whole chapter, sir. When I got back to Vegas a week or so later, I called Mr. X and arranged a meeting. Who told me about a security guard was a close friend of his that worked at an underground facility called Dulce, and due to many unspeakable things that he had witnessed, escaped with 25 black and white photos, 6 minutes of security videotape and one of the hallways, and several hundred papers of a technical nature that were going on in the facility. Mr. X told me that Thomas Costello, the security guard, had told him an incident had occurred in 1979 where 44 scientists had been killed along with 22 Delta Force personnel.
Dubs.
So... Oh, shit.
Check them.
So this is what has become known as the Dulce Wars, but it wasn't a war. According to Costello, and later backed up by Bob Lazar, who read about the incident in a briefing paper at S4, a gray alien being was given instruction to some 44 scientists at Dulce Base. Apparently, a security guard with Delta Force who helped patrol and provide security for the Dulce Base entered the room with a sidearm of some type. It was known by all Dulce personnel that no firearms of any kind were allowed anywhere near the Greys. For whatever reason, the security guard's mistake, the Grey immediately killed him and the 44 scientists. Seeing the disaster taking place on the security cameras, other Delta Force personnel came for revenge, but the alien killed them also. Both Costello's account and the account read by Lazar at S4 said all 66 deaths were caused by head wounds. There was no elaboration. I met many times with Mr. X discussing Dulce and some weird things happening that made me think someone else was monitoring these meetings. During one of these meetings, Mr. X told me that Costello had given him one of 5 or 6 sets of the papers, which is in quotations, the papers, which included the photos, a copy of the videotape, and the technical data.
So this tape is out there.
But
somewhere, yeah.
Before he gave it to him, was he like, papers, please?
Zing. After verifying that the photos, papers, and videotape were in the container, the containers were sealed in a waterproof box, which was then self-sealed with some type of plastic covering. Costello told Mr. X at the time of the transfer that his wife and children had disappeared and that he was on the run. Costello told Mr. X to bury the box in a safe location and that he would contact him every 4 to 6 months. If he should miss 2 contacts in a row, it meant that he was dead or had been taken back to Dulce Base. Dulce employed special bounty hunters just for this type of incident. Mr. X buried the box in Dolan Springs, Arizona, about an hour's drive south of Las Vegas, high up in the mountains. Mr. X and I drove to Dolan Springs once where he pointed out the approximate location of the buried box. It's right next to Walter White's money. Several years went by, and Mr. X told 2 other persons about the box and the location, and they also went out of the way. They definitely told Snarky.
Hold on a second. We got some legal advice coming in. Hot on the wire. No, I'm just kidding. It's a bunch of bullshit. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what? We're skipping the Second Amendment debate right now. There's time for that later. We're talking about
it's not even Second Amendment debate.
Although it sounds like the aliens might be gun grabbers because if you bring one around them, they'd fry your head.
Yeah, I'm curious how that went down exactly. What
telekinetic murder.
Just crushing skulls.
I crush your head. Somewhere in the middle 1990s, I forget exactly when, Thomas Costello had missed 2 consecutive contacts, and it was over a year since Mr. X had heard from him. He waited another 6 months and then began a search to recover the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Damn, we just took that sample.
I know, right? I never went on the search. I could have used the Gay Frogs one earlier, too, with the pink contrails. Chemtrails, whatever. I went on the search, but 2 of my friends did. They made 4 or 5, maybe more expeditions to where Mr. X had remembered hiding the box, but never found it. A great deal of effort went into the search, but no trace of the box was ever found. during one of the meetings, Mr. X produced 8 pencil drawings and 1 written page in pencil of data. The 8 pencil drawings were 5 views of the 25 photographs that Costello had taken from Dulce, and 3 pages of diagrams that he'd seen in the paperwork.
So artistic.
The handwritten page was information that Costello had given him. I asked if he would copy and distribute all the information. I agreed. So, all right, we're gonna skip forward to some of the more relevant meat of this stuff.
Just keeps going.
It's like a wall of text that just doesn't stop.
It goes down under the table.
When Bob Lazar reads about the massacre of 66 people at Dulce Base at S4, the document he was reading said the incident happened at Area 51, not Dulce. I have no explanation for the discrepancy except possibly Lazar's clearance had maybe not reached the level where he could know about Dulce, but that is speculation.
Well, too, they'll see disinformation, and they'll give one piece to this person, they'll give a different piece to this person, and a different piece to this person. So if something comes out, and they can line up which piece of disinformation it is, and then figure out who the leaker was.
I saw that on Game of Thrones.
Yeah. That is some little finger shit right there. So anyhow, it concludes, below I'll post the original Dulce papers, cover page, typewritten, that I made in the 5 felt tip pen drawings that I traced from the original drawings that Mr. X drew from the photographs that he saw.
But why not just get the... never mind. I'm sorry.
Also copies of the 3 diagrams for which there was no explanation. I'll post the floor plan for the 7 levels of Dulce. Following that, I am attaching notes that I made for myself during the search for the truth. Also, a copy of a 2-page note clarifying what Bob Lazar told me and the details of Dulce and the Benowitz affair. I could have lumped it all into one post, but I didn't. You get to read the raw data, and that is why there is some duplication of information, and this information will also be duplicated on our page at facebook.com/realitybrief. We're going to go ahead and post it for you so you can peruse it for yourself, and, maybe next week one of you can pick up a phone and dial 757-528-8130 and tell us what you think about it. That'd be pretty rad.
Do it right now, legal expert. I know you want to.
And the open Second Amendment debate challenge is still open, but, you might just need to call our personal lines because I think it's about that time. We're getting up there.
Don't call me because I don't want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, you can call me, though. I'd really just be happy if anybody called me.
So don't forget to check on out our Facebook group. Join it up if you haven't already, and you'll get all the show notes. You'll get all kinds of new stuff and lots of witty banter from our wonderful group members, and also Dan and I making a fool out of ourselves on a regular basis.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, thank you once again for watching Reality Brief, and we will see you next week.
What is reality? Reality is what we believe to be true about the nature of our surroundings. But how do we come to decide that true nature? Do we conceive it completely on our own? Or do other devices gently sway our thoughts onto a pre-decided path? This is the hard question we must all ask ourselves as free humans on this planet. Who sculpts your reality?
Reality.
Love to get my rights restored like a normal citizen, and they do it for people.
Yeah.